So what are we going to talk about? So we want to talk about what's called projecting technological development over 38,000 years, lessons from history. Or if you want to put it slightly milder, is seriously, why is technology so crappy in the quantitative books? And it is quite hard to talk about technology in a universe where you have like the dark age of technology, where everything was wiped out, and we have heresy and all that stuff. So I focus on a couple of things. We have like 15 minutes. And not on the, I don't know, black hole shooting spaceships, which are obviously stupid. So I just wondered, even given the dark age of technology, even if you only go up to there, why is it so bad compared to today? And we start with heresy. So all pictures have been generated by AI, just to avoid copyright issues and so on. Just explaining why they're sometimes not the best. So what are major technological developments in our universe? Not the 40K universe, but our universe. And I guess we can have like a long discussion on that. I just talked to a couple of friends, looked at a couple of books, a couple of publications. And again, you can discuss all of them. If you go through fire, agriculture, the wheel, and we are like ages ago now. Then you could say writing, also major technological development, working with metals, working with materials in general, building houses. Major breakthrough, basically, which led to huge development. Then we come to our dark ages, the Middle Ages. Then we're like printing, like we're like in mind, just wherever in this direction. Then we come to stuff like the steam engine. And now we're in the like 1800, 1900 somethings, where basically we transform energy or materials to energy. So all the things we just discussed have been basically taken the majority of human life. From, hey, the first human walks the earth 200,000 years ago, to, let's say, 1900 or 1800 something. So that is a long time. And now we're basically in the time, the last, let's say, 100, 200 years. And again, you can discuss all those things, but in my book and a couple other books, a couple of discussions, electricity, a major breakthrough which led to a lot of things technologically. Nuclear energy, or like this, and any other form, which basically is based on quantum mechanics. So we're in the 1905 now. Solar energy, all the transistor stuff, and so on. So everything that comes from that physical breakthrough basically use the Earth's energy to actually transform it to use it in any other shape. Space travel or travel mobility in general, major technological breakthrough, which basically when you're going from A to B in any shape and form, including the moon. The computer, I like, again, all is AI generated, just lacks one row of keys. I don't know why. So, very crappy computer. Don't type on it. Anyway, the computer, transistors, and everything coming with that. Of course, you have, coming with that, I would again argue a major breakthrough is like connecting the whole Earth. Like the internet and everything that comes with it. And again, we are in the last 100 years. In general, you can pick out stuff, say, like CRISPR-Cas and medicine and antibiotics and so on. That's genetic engineering. I combined it all and said modern medicine, modern biology. Which, again, and I show you a couple of arguments for that later on, happened in the last, let's say, 150 years. So basically starting with the rise of antibiotics. And you can see that actually in human life expectancy. There's it's a funny curve. Basically, it goes flat and then goes linear up. So, and this is basically the rise of modern medicine. So, and finally, if it works, that's fine. It works here, but not there. Anyway, AI, artificial intelligence, the latest breakthrough, and coming with that, we have robotics. So these are basically our major breakthroughs until today. And again, we can discuss every one of those. However, that's where we are right now, and the majority has happened in the last 100 years. And you can read through the literature. Basically, technological development is going not linear, obviously, but rather exponential. That's funny, I'm one slide off. Okay, let's work with this. So now you can cluster those, and this is a very rough clustering, just for the sake of the talk. You have mobility, basically going from A to B. You have everything related to information, so basically computed internet, writing, storing data, basically making sure that one generation of humans can talk to the next generation of humans, which was, again, a major breakthrough in technology. Not only stories, but also technology. I call it support, for the lack of a better term, building houses, agriculture, medicine, and last but not least, transforming energy. So very briefly, let's go through all of them. And I just want to give you a couple of examples where we are at and where we could go in a couple of years. Let's start with mobility. Let's very briefly go through what are actually the limits of mobility. If you take the fastest rocket to the moon, which was Apollo 6, they had a speed of roughly 4,350 kilometers per hour. And if you just go, let's say, to the moon, that takes 3 days. That's good, you can do that. To the sun, we need like 4 years. I don't know why we want to go there, but that's a different story. Let's take the farthest planet, and I don't engage in Pluto discussions right now. Neptune, Pluto even further away. 115 years. Now we are at the limit of human life. So if you take basically a baby, if you're really, really lucky, you could go there. Really lucky. It would be very bored, but very lucky. The next star takes like 1 million years. This is just the closest star, Proxima Centauri, we have. The next galaxy, and there are 12 galaxies at all, but let's say Andromeda is like 620 billion years. This is the fastest trip to the moon. Can we go faster? Yes, we can. The Parker Solar Probe, we basically smashed into the sun with sun orbit, which was even faster than the rocket. Even that takes 30 minutes to the moon, 10 days to the sun, 9 months to the moon, 7,000 years to the next star. A human won't do that, obviously. And the next galaxy is still a billion years. If you take the 6th edition rule book, and again, I'm not as deep in the lore as I want to be, as I already figured out today, they say, okay, to go to the next star, it takes like, one of the closest stars, they say, it takes like 10 generations. Let's say a generation is 30 years, 300 years. The speed you need to go to Proxima Centauri in 300 years is 1.5% of the speed of light, which is very fast. Very fast. So you can do that technologically. There's no limit of human stopping. There's no relativity speaking against it or so. But you need a particle accelerator. You need to cram humans into particle accelerators for that, which is not a very pleasant sound. So again, possible, maybe. What about speed of light? So speed of light, 300,000 kilometers per second, really, really fast. To the moon, 1 second, sun, 8 minutes. Next star is like 4, and planet is 4 hours, roughly 4 years. Everything is rounded, obviously. Andromeda still 1 million years. This is the fastest we can go. And so far, in physics, that's basically the limit. There is, and I talk about that in a second. I jump in for a friend later on because he got sick. We talk about faster than light travel there, but we obviously need faster than light travel in the universe. Otherwise, this whole universe does not work. Why this does not work faster than light travel in general? Next session. Anyway, information. Really fast. We can make that very quick. Information does not travel faster than light. There is, and all the problems we just discussed. We cannot talk to any other galaxy at all. And one thing that is, in terms of AI and robotics, pretty much everything happening in Warhammer, we can do in the next couple of, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. Let's say 1,000 years. We have 38,000, so let's make it generous, 1,000 years. This can be done easily. So all that area is covered. Let's speak about energy. Where does the energy come from? And a couple of science fiction. Anybody? I guess most of you are in science fiction. A couple of you might know the Kardashev scale. And there are extensions to that. We just talked about the basics. It basically tells you, okay, what kind of energy does a civilization need to actually go somewhere? And the original idea was, okay, can we figure out whether there is extraterrestrial life? And very briefly, there are extensions, but in the basic form, there are 1, 2, and 3 civilizations. Civilization of type 1 can basically store and use the energy of the planet they are living on. We are pretty much there. So we are like half-ish. So we don't have access to the Earth's core, but we can use nuclear energy. We can use solar, we can use wind, we can use water. So we are pretty much there. However, this is basically what gets you to new planets. This is not what gets you to new galaxies. Type 2, we can actually use the energy stored in the star, which is close by. In our case, it's sun. How can we do that? And we're not talking about putting a couple of solar panels, because that is basically the planet's energy, what actually ends up on the planet, but the whole thing. And there is a physicist, Freeman Dyson, most of you will know him, or at least the Dyson sphere. The idea is basically you take the solar panels and just put them next to the sun. And again, looks like this, like a giant Death Star or something. Necrons. Yeah, maybe Necrons. So again, many pictures of that. So a Dyson sphere, that's what you need. We're not talking about how we actually get up there. We're not talking about the materials we need to actually put stuff close to the sun, and so on and so on and so on. So this is basically a major thing where we are not there, obviously. Yeah. So, and finally, type 3 civilizations can actually store and use the energy of the galaxy, which in our case is the Milky Way, or the AI version of the Milky Way. How does it look like? What you need, in the center of pretty much every big galaxy, there is a black hole, and that is a reasonable amount of energy you can use. If you don't want to use every single star. And again, this is AI generated. You need some method to actually use energy. And there is physically no way to do that. So again, nowadays, maybe later, but nowadays there is no, it just goes in, not out. Okay, so energy might be a problem. Let's talk about support. And there, of course, is the standard template construct, which I hope I learned something from you guys. In my book, it's a huge database coupled with a 3D printer. And again, we can discuss that, and you are the expert, not I, hopefully. However, using that is possible, even today. This is basically a 3D printed house. It takes a couple of days, but it's possible. And of course, there are many other technological difficulties, but this is what we can do today. There is nothing stopping us to do that on a slightly smaller scale in 100 years. Using like robots, storing data is no problem. Right now, you can store like a couple of terabytes on, I don't know, a hard disk, which is like half a kilogram. If you use modern, the current technology to actually store data on DNA, you can store like 200 petabytes in a gram. So, and this is, I mean, prototypes of that are existing. So that will be there in like a couple of 100 years. So storing data will not be an issue in the crypto future. Let's go on. Very briefly, just maybe the last point. Space Marines, are Space Marines feasible? And pretty much yes. So Space Marines are just large humans. You have like a 3-meter Space Marine compared to like a 2-meter human. So we need to grow by 50%. Is that possible? And yes, if you, well, let's talk about it in a second. Space Marine armor, there have been prototypes of that. Not to that extent, but exoskeletons are existing today. So Space Marines are not a problem. You can use like, robotics is there in like 50 years. If at all. Say again?
Is that we said that 50 years ago already, so.
Okay, we can discuss it. So, life is, what do you think? Since 1900, again, we're talking about antibiotics and so on, modern medicine. What do you think happened to life expectancy on average in the world? Went up, yes. By how much?
After 30 years.
30 years? A factor of? Rough, just guess.
5 years. What take?
Okay. Any other things? Factor of? 2.5.
Year.
No, times.
Time. Okay.
So we have from like 30, 35 years to like 70, 80.
Yeah.
So roughly between 2 and 3, depending where you look. But now you might argue, okay, it only happened in a certain subset of countries and all over the world. The lines are pretty much in parallel. So more than done. If you want to use genetic engineering, this is a cell you can produce. This is a standard cell. This is a mouse, a usual mouse. This is a genetically modified mouse. I call it the primal mouse. No, Stephen. The point I want to make is Space Marines, from a technological point of view and from a genetic point of view, is a matter of will, not technology. So if you want to use genetic engineering, which is a whole different discussion, we can do that. We don't have the time to talk about chaos and xenos. We can do that later on if you want. But the point I want to make is, if you talk about the Imperium, the science is actually underdeveloped. And even not talking about the dark age of technology and all that, even until then, it is heavily underdeveloped. And apart from faster than light travel, that's really cool. But we talk about that later. So thank you for that, and I'm happy to answer questions.